So I recently got this comment on my YouTube channel, and basically she's asking, why do hiring managers try to trick you? They ask you questions like, what's your greatest weakness, and then are upset when you actually give them a weakness. Well, I've been in recruitment for almost 15 years, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly why this happens and what you should do about it. Let's go. When I saw this comment, I really wanted to make a video about it because interviewing can feel like a minefield. You go and you want to, apply and interview and pursue jobs that you're really interested in. And it should be straightforward. I'm qualified. I can do the job. I'd like to do the job for you. And you'd think it would be that simple, but it is not. It is definitely not that simple. And you're always trying to dodge these different traps, so to speak, that are placed throughout the interview process. And it can be incredibly frustrating if you're a candidate. Now, you've probably experienced this because there are so many examples of this in the interview process. There's what's your greatest weakness? Tell me about a time you didn't live up to your own expectations. There's why are you looking to leave your current job? Tell me something you don't like about your current job. These are all legitimate interview questions that you might get asked in the interview process, and it can be really tricky to know how to answer these. Because they don't want you to tell you exactly why, right? They don't want to say, well, my boss is a jerk, all my coworkers are incompetent, and the physical location is falling apart. They don't want to hear that. That's negative. But they are asking you the question. I once had a person in the interview process interview me and ask me the question, if I hire you in 6 months, what won't I like about you? And I can't think of a more trappy interview question. You are trying to trap me into this process or eliminate me as a candidate because you don't like my answer. So let's talk about why this happens. Now, the first reason this happens is because generally speaking, people are bad at interviewing. There isn't like a course that you go through when you become a manager that teaches you how to interview. Most of the time, there's barely a course or a learning or a training that teaches you how to be a good manager, let alone interview people for your role, right? They just say, okay, well, you're a manager now, and they expect you to be able to do all these things effectively, including interview people for your own team. And the reality is, some of these questions are the most common questions that are asked. And because of that, they've heard them before, they know them, they're part of their question catalog, and they use them, right? Why are you looking to leave your current job? What's your greatest weakness? These are some of the most common questions. So even a person who doesn't have a lot of experience interviewing, they're not good at interviewing, they're going to be aware of these questions. And when they're put in the situation to interview and hire for their team, and they are new to it, or maybe they're not new to it, but they're just bad at it, they're going to default to these questions that they are aware of. Now, the second reason people ask questions like this is because interviewing is an exercise in risk mitigation. It can be really expensive to make a bad hire. Studies show that can be anywhere from 40% to 250% of the person's salary if you make a bad hire. If you hire someone for $100,000, the cost of replacing them and going through this whole process again can cost $40,000 or $250,000. So it is incredibly expensive for a company to make a mistake like this. So interviewing is an exercise in risk mitigation. They want to make sure that they're hiring a person who's going to be a good fit for the team, a good fit for the organization, and is going to be here long term. So they are going to ask these questions because the reality is people often reveal things in the interview that makes them look like a bad fit when you ask questions like this, right? These are where people actually reveal their red flags. And as a hiring manager, you do want to know these things, right? So they're not good at interviewing to begin with, and they want to make sure they're not going to make a bad hire. And these questions are oftentimes where people out themselves as problematic. They say things that, you hear it and you go, that doesn't sound good. This person might be a problem in the future. So that's what it comes down to. And quite frankly, the advice in here is pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. If you take anything away from this video, take two things. One, just know that it happens all the time and know why it happens. But two, it never behooves you to be negative in the interview. I'm a recruiter. I don't try to ask trappy questions when I'm interviewing people, but one thing that I always have my radar out for is I'm not looking to hire someone who is overly negative. When we're talking about, hey, why are you interested in looking for a new role? That answer should not be highly negative. You should talk about what you're moving towards, not what you're running away from. So it might be challenging. It might be hard to think of an answer that seems appropriate. But in the moment, when you are interviewing, never say anything negative about past employers, current employers, past teams, past bosses, negativity hardly ever serves you. I have never once talked to a hiring manager who says, Ben, I want to hire that candidate. They were incredibly negative. That is what I am looking for. That does not happen. One of the things that you're going to have to deal with as a candidate is you're going to have to deal with behavioral interview questions. They are incredibly challenging and they're incredibly common. And you need to do well in these questions if you hope to get an offer. So I made this video here. This video here teaches you everything you need to know to nail every behavioral interview you have for the rest of your life. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.